Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Carissa Sealy, and on this channel I make content all about faith, love and lifestyle. So if that sounds like something you would be interested in, be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this video once you're through with it. So if you're ready, I definitely ready. Baby, go! Carissa. I'm putting, guys, if you'll hear anything, that's the food cooking. So there you go. Anyways, in this week's video I want to talk about politics and if Christians should be a part of politics, if we should have very strong opinions on the political climate that we're experiencing now and in the future, or if that's something that we should kind of stand clear of. Now, you would have seen that I did a video, I think it was November 2020, where I was talking about the election results and the response I was seeing from Christians to the then president-elect. It wasn't confirmed that Joe Biden had won the election, but mass media had already declared that he was the winner, and now it has been confirmed that he is the winner. Now, at that point in time, Christians had a lot to say. I saw a lot of people celebrating and they thought this was a great thing. People were excited about the first black VP in the person of Kamala Harris. So there was celebration across the board and it was understandable people's excitement. One of the things I had, alluded to in my first video talking about the US elections was that people were so focused on the character of Trump that they were celebrating something they didn't fully understand. Yes, the Democrats are now in power, let's say from January 20th, but what is that? How is that going to affect the day-to-day lives of you? Now, it was in 2020 where I got my political bite, I should say. That's when I began to get really interested in what was happening, because I was seeing how much what was happening in the political arena was affecting the people that I knew, the conversations that were happening, the mind frame, the mindset of people. And I thought that it was something that we really needed to dive into. Because one of my issues is that the church, unfortunately, does not deal with some of these issues as it deems it too sensitive. Now, I wouldn't call for anybody to profess to be a Democrat or Republican, a liberal or conservative in a public platform or a public arena, especially not a pastor. But there are conversations that must be had into why we react a certain way to the news that we have received. Now, here's the big thing. My fear for the church is that, just from observation, we are not ready for the storm that is about to come. The honest truth is, too many of us have found our identity in our race, in our sexual orientation, in our class, and it has blinded us to the realities. It has blinded us to the truth of what is actually occurring. So what is happening? Now that the Democrats have the majority rule in both houses, they will be able to push their agenda in a way that we've never seen before. We have to ask ourselves, why is now the time where we've seen so much, the most racial tension that we have seen in years? Probably from the 1960s, something mirroring the 1960s during the Civil Rights Movement. People often blame Trump as this racist, misogynist, this bigot. And we fail to realize that he was just the easy target. But now that he's been pushed aside, he's been silenced on social media platforms, who else are they going to come after? Do we just believe that it's going to stop at Trump, the big mean guy? No, it's going to affect our day-to-day conservative views as Christians. Our beliefs on abortion, our beliefs on the LGBTQ community, our beliefs on race and how it should be, and how it should be dealt with. Our beliefs on how we as a people should come together, our ability to worship freely, to take orders that we desire to take or to reject orders that we don't want to take. There is coming a time when Christian beliefs will be targeted. We've seen We've seen some examples of this happening a few years ago, where we would have seen bakers being sued for refusing to bake a cake that had the insignia of a belief that they did not carry. Thankfully, they would have won that lawsuit. But that's just the beginning. That happened in America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, where everybody is able to have a voice, where they call for tolerance, where they call for equal rights for all, except those who have a different point of view than they do. And who has a different point of view? It's the Christian, it's the church. Now, unfortunately, because of the history of America being so bathed in racial injustice, the focus is easily tied back to that. I believe that the Black church, more than any other church, is being affected by this, because they're trying to find the balance between being a good Christian, but seeing the hurt, the real hurt that people have been facing, the real injustice that people have felt for themselves, and marrying those two. How are these things going to be able to coincide? How are we going to react to this? Unfortunately, I feel too many of us have become social justice warriors, that has become our identity, and we leave Christ at the back burner. And even if we say we don't leave Christ at the back burner, I find it interesting that many of the voices that we are used to hearing on issues are now silent. Many of the Black voices, that the Black Christian voices that we may have been able to look to for some guidance or to another perspective, have been silent. It is not our duty as public figures to speak about everything. I believe there is wisdom in remaining silent when you're not sure about what your point of view is on a topic. It doesn't make sense to come out hot and sweaty and make all these posts if you're not sure exactly what you believe in yet. Because you may post something today and then 2 minutes later you see something else that completely undercuts your belief. But as believers, I think it is time for us to stop being so comfortable in this kind of passive mentality that we tend to have. Whereas if it's not affecting the church directly, like right now, then we don't have to deal with it. But too often, by the time it reaches the church, it is too late. The people in the church have already been affected by what is happening in society. The church is people. The church is the people. And therefore, if the people are being affected by something, it will affect the church. On the topic of being social justice warriors, one of the things that has really hurt my heart when seeing the reaction of the church is how we have responded to the Black Lives Matter movement. It is no secret that Black lives matter to Jesus. All lives matter to Jesus. But unfortunately, we have taken this issue and made it our complete identity. We ask people, I understand that you are hurting in this arena, but do you understand that the people that you want to put in power is also killing Black lives? Over 800 Black babies are aborted every day in the United States of America. But they would say, listen, we need to make life safer for when they're actually out of the womb. So right now, this party or this, these people that we want to put in power is the lesser of two evils. But we have to ask ourselves, is it really? When the rate of the Black community growing has literally come to a standstill due to abortion. We have to realize how God sees these unborn children. And I think it's evil. I truly think it's evil that we could try to normalize abortion for the sake of some injustice that may have happened in our lifetime. When you look at statistics, you would see that while there is injustice, and I am not saying that injustice doesn't happen, please understand me. While injustice does happen because of racism, statistics will show that the way that the media has been projecting it is to sensationalize the situation. It's to play on our emotions as human beings. We understand that every human has the right to live. So they will play on our emotional strings and make us want to fight for the injustice that we may be seeing. But the reality is more babies are killed in the womb than people are killed out here in the world. More Black people are killed before they even have a chance to live. than black people who are shot and killed by police, who are killed by police brutality. I'm not saying this for us to change our perspective, but I'm saying this for us to have another perspective. I'm calling on us to research for ourselves. You hear me say that time and time again. And the reason why I'm saying that is because knowledge is power. We can't just listen to one news source. We need to try different avenues and then go to the Lord himself and ask him, how should we deal with what we have received, this information that we're taking in? Now, 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 3 to 4 says, "For the time is coming when people will not endure sound teaching, but having itching ears, they will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own passions, and will turn away from listening to the truth and wander off into myths." One of the dangers with listening to one source for your information is exactly what the scripture is saying. We begin to pick and choose who we want to hear, and we no longer are able to decipher what is the truth, what is a myth, what is playing on our emotional strings, and what is a bona fide fact. So to answer the question if Christians should be in politics, if we should listen to politics, if we should research about politics, my answer would be yes. Because I truly believe that the political arena is what is going to shape the end times for us, and we need to be ready. Because it's not going to happen with your brother or your sister. It's going to happen through legislation. It's going to happen through trying to make you have to do something that goes against your beliefs. And I know the scripture says, okay, you must obey the law, but if the law contradicts what God has told you to do, then you must obey God first. But the reality is that is easier said than done. We must, as at all possible arms, try to make sure that legislation that benefits not only ourselves but the people at large, God's people. So I believe that Christians should be in politics, but I believe that we should be wise. I don't think that politics should be our identity, because we could, for example, I could say, okay, I want to learn more so that I could educate people, so I could have, a more solidified point of view. But then I could get so obsessed with trying to learn that itself becomes my identity, that I'm no longer even thinking of things from a Christian perspective, from a biblical perspective, but I'm looking at things from a political perspective. I'm looking at things from a Republican perspective, a conservative perspective. And as much as some of the Republican or conservative ideals would line up to what we as Christians believe, they don't believe everything that we do. And so I can't adopt that as my new sense of self. I must stay close to the Word of God. But I must ask God to open my eyes to see how the things that are happening in the political arena are going to affect me, are going to affect my family. I don't think that God would have allowed the Democrats to win if he didn't want them to win. Nothing on earth happens without his say-so. And I believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that God has placed us here, this particular generation here on this earth, because he knows we are able to deal with whatever may come, whether it's persecution or success, whether it's praise. But knowing that we can't just take advantage or take it for granted that, yeah, God wouldn't have us here if he didn't know we could deal with the situation. It also means that we must prepare ourselves. We must get ready. We cannot see what is happening here as just by chance. We cannot just see it for what it is in the physical. We have to also see what it is as its spiritual implications, as the consequences we may face spiritually. Unfortunately, there are many people who will die, who will find themselves in front of the gates of hell, because they misunderstood how they were supposed to deal with this situation right now. I firmly believe that, and I think I said this in last week's video, if you want to be on the right side of history, you need to be on God's side of history. We need to cling to him more than any other thing. And I know this is kind of a different direction from my usual videos, but I believe that we need to talk about these things, as uncomfortable as it may make some of us feel. I don't know everything, and I don't profess to know everything. And there's a lot that I still need to understand and to divulge. But at the bare minimum, I could see that something is not right in the climate that we are seeing right now. Something is not right. Race is being used as a weapon. Race has been weaponized. My fear is that we are repeating the mistakes that has taken over 400 years to undo. The mistakes that were made in the 1600s during the slave trade. We are still undoing those sins. And now racism has been painted a different color and fed to us in a different way. And we are accepting it. This idea that we could alienate a sector of people, we could call them all types of things, and then in the next breath call for unity and call for peace is crazy to me. That is not how the mind works. You know how it would feel if you have been attacked, if somebody keeps calling you something that you know you're not, and then say, hey, I'm sorry about that, but you're nice, that you know for yourself that you wouldn't accept that. You would know that something is wrong, and that is what is happening now. The idea that racial tensions are going to get better is a lie. The idea that in order to make things right, we have to elevate the blacks, the Asians, and the Native Americans and everyone else, and the women, but leave the white men or white people aside. How could that ever bring unity? How could that ever bring peace? And as Christians, we must call it out for what it is. And we cannot accept that for ourselves. So I know that was a lot to take in, and I've certainly been editing this and going over things. I may add some things in if I feel like, just to clarify some of the points that I may have spoken, and just to make sure that we all understand. Again, God has placed us here for a reason. He has placed us here in His perfect time. And so we have purpose. We have a reason to be here. And so I don't want us to take it for granted. I don't want us to get accustomed to just taking in, news and adopting that as who we are. I really want to challenge us to dig deeper, to look further, look beyond. And even if you don't agree with everything I've said, at least give it a chance. At least say, what if she's right? So guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe to this channel, and share with someone you think may enjoy it as well. If you'd like to talk to me, if you'd like to message me, you can email me, and my email will be right here on the screen, and you could always, here, just take it and write now. But if you'd like to follow me on social media, you could also follow me on Instagram, and my IG handle will also be on the screen for you to follow me at. So, I think that's it. Without further ado, guys, thanks for joining me again this week. I see you out here doing things with the Lord. I love it. We love to see it. Praise the name of the Lord. And until next time, what are we going to do? We're going to keep it popping for who? Jesus. Because without Him, we'd be a hot mess. And that's not a lie. I'm telling you. You thought I was joking. Trust me, everybody's going to be a hot mess. People just trifling in the streets, without the Lord. Carissa. Bye.